Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here. So Joe Joyce defeats Bryant Jennings by a unanimous decision to remain unbeaten, and he moves to 10-0. I've got to say, I felt this fight was a lot closer than the scorecards indicated. And it's got to be said, the commentary on BT Sports was terrible. Barry Jones and John Rawling were making it out like these rounds were, clear Joe Joyce rounds, when a lot of these rounds were very competitive, very close and hard to score. For me, this fight was competitive throughout, and Bryant Jennings had more than his fair share of moments in this fight, including in the first round when Bryant Jennings actually hurt Joe Joyce to the body with a lovely left hook. You could see Joe Joyce double over in pain from that left hook. And in this fight, Bryant Jennings had several moments where he was landing clean and eye-catching shots. He was countering effectively at times. The left hook in particular was a great punch for Bryant Jennings in this fight, to body and head. There were several times when Bryant Jennings would rock the head back of Joe Joyce with sharp, crisp counter left hooks, and also right hands over the top of Joe Joyce's low left. Bryant Jennings, his volume wasn't what it should have been, I've got to be honest, but at the same time he was countering extremely well, and he landed most of the eye-catching shots in this bout. Also in the pocket, there were times when Bryant Jennings would work well up close, sneaky right uppercuts through the middle, some nice body shots on the inside. Jennings had his moments in this fight. His downside was the fact that his volume just wasn't where it needed to be quite honest, and that's one of the reasons he lost this fight. Not only that, I expected to see a bit more in and out movement from Bryant Jennings. Bryant Jennings has good legs, but a lot of the time he elected to stand with Joe Joyce to trade or try and counter, and it was effective, but when he wasn't doing that, I would have liked to have seen Jennings move a bit more, be a bit more elusive, and fire out that jab to try and keep Joyce honest and to try and pick up the points. But yeah, Bryant Jennings, for me, he wasn't active enough with his jab. As for Joe Joyce, he was Joe Joyce. He came forward, trying to apply pressure, work rate, volume, switching from body to head. There were moments when Joyce had Jennings penned against the ropes and Joyce would be teeing off effectively. In those moments, Jennings was getting outworked quite severely, and in a lot of the close rounds you could argue Joyce outworked Jennings, but for me, in a lot of the close rounds, like I said, Jennings' eye-catching work was the difference. I guess it's what you like. I don't think the actual decision was a robbery. I just feel the cards were way too wide, to be completely honest with you. And also in this fight, I've got to make a note of it, there was a point deduction for Bryant Jennings for a low blow. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I heard, Jennings wasn't warned until that point. I didn't hear any warnings to Bryant Jennings before this point deduction for low blows, but yeah, he caught Joe Joyce with a clear low blow, and the referee decided to take a point. I felt that was very harsh, if I'm being completely honest, especially considering Joe Joyce had about 5 warnings for pushing off with the shoulder. He was doing that numerous times, he had numerous warnings, and nothing was done about it. So I felt Jennings was harshly treated there, if I'm being honest. And decent fight. It was kind of one of those fights where you kind of scored it what you liked. I felt it was a hell of a lot closer than the judges had it and that the commentating team were making out. I felt it was quite a close fight, a very competitive fight, but Joe Joyce gets the decision, and yeah, it is what it is. But in regards to Joe Joyce's performance, defensively, the flaws are still there. The low left hand, the wide stance, the lack of head movement, and the slow reactions. He's there to be hit, we all know that. But offensively, he brings some good volume, he brings good pressure, and he'll be a problem for most guys. But when he gets to a certain level, I expect him to come unstuck. I just don't believe he's got what it takes defensively, and I also believe his power is not what it's cracked up to be, put it that way. Yes, his volume will cause problems for a lot of guys, but I really believe he'll come unstuck at elite world class level. You know, when he fights those elite top 5, top 6 heavyweights, that's when I think he comes unstuck. He's good enough to beat guys like Bryant Jennings and people like that. But that top 5, top 6 level, that's when I think this guy's coming unstuck. But yeah, Joe Joyce wins on points, but a lot of flaws exposed. Anyway, on to the next one for Joe Joyce. Who do you want to see him fight next? I mean, they're talking about Manuel Charr. I think that would be a good step up for Joe Joyce. Or not necessarily a step up, because I think Manuel Charr's worse than Bryant Jennings, but a good fight for him next. You know, another fight to work on a few things and, you know, try to iron out some of those defensive flaws. But I think with Joe Joyce, it's what you see is what you get, and there'll be very little improvements from here on in. Share your thoughts below. Peace.